Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Riveme.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of superhero television or film. And this week we are talking about The Watch.
BBC's The Watch?
BBC America, I do believe.
BBC America. I didn't notice the little asterisk of America.
I believe it is BBC America.
Oh, my apologies. Inspired by the Terry Pratchett novels of the Discworld universe.
Yeah, inspired by the world that is the discs.
The world of discs.
The world of discs.
Before we start,
yes,
I would like Andrew to tell you all what he imagined
Don't
Discworld
worry about it. Don't worry about it. Nobody even worry about it.
I loved what you thought Discworld was.
All right. Discworld, I've never read the novels. Not only have I not read the novels, I've never read a synopsis of the novels. I've never overheard a conversation about the novels. I have heard nothing other than the words Terry Pratchett, Discworld.
Discworld. That's your knowledge.
That has been all I've heard, but I've heard it consistently. Like it'll come up a couple times a year, not a lot, but like it's come up for a while, couple times a year.
The fantasy nerd realms will be like Discworld.
It's around and generally discussed. And I had no idea what it was. But from just general impressions and just hearing Discworld, I thought they threw discs at one another. I thought it was like in the original Tron, they had those like light frisbees that they would throw at one another, or like the circle disc that Xena has.
The Xena circle discs, of course, we all know them.
So
yeah.
I thought it was like a Hunger Games type world where they threw discs at one another.
This is a 30-book series.
Yeah.
Just about talking circles.
I've never heard anyone mention anything other than Discworld. It's the Discworld. It's written by Terry Pratchett. It's the Discworld. That's all I've ever gotten. That's the maximum amount of information I had going into this.
I love this interpretation of Discworld because I'll tell you mine. I've known what Discworld is for a while, but originally, before I knew what Discworld was and just heard Discworld, I actually thought it was a world where there was a lot of disco and they'd abbreviated it.
See, yours is more ridiculous.
No, because like you can make a lot of stories about that. Yours is
but
just about
no
circles.
one has. No one has.
Both of our ideas are new.
No, mine is reasonable enough that there are stories where people combat in a gladiatorial arena using discs. And granted, in Tron, there were also motorcycle races, light cycle races, but still, I think I was closer on that one.
I mean, yeah, it was like in my head, Discworld was this like normal fantasy world, but everyone's in like disco outfits.
That's fun.
I'm kind of fun.
That is fun.
And I knew it was like zany fun.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, they're in disco outfits all the time.
And then
that's fun.
And then one day we were watching the College Humor show Actually, which is a quality show. If any of you have Dropout or you want to try a Dropout account for College Humor, check it out. Actually, they got some free episodes as well on YouTube. And one day they had like some questions about Discworld, and like the answers were like, yeah, and the whole world takes place on a turtle's back. And I was like, that's what I started losing my mind.
They didn't mention a single disc.
They didn't mention a single disc, but anyway.
We
digress.
That's what well, actually, we didn't say what Discworld is. That's what we thought Discworld was.
About. But we found out through the television show The Watch, which we have now seen episodes 1 to 4. So we're going to give you a spoiler-free review in a moment. And then once you hear the music and we get into the body of the episode, we are going to do spoilers for episodes 1 to 4 of the BBC America series, The Watch. But let's start off with a quick spoiler-free review. Diana, did you like it?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's like the things that are bad aren't terribly bad, and the things that are good are only just like kind of good. So it's like walking the line the whole time. It wants to be a comedy and a drama and isn't good at either one of those things. But like it's kind of okay at both things. It is the word middling will come up many times in my review of the show The Watch. And I think my biggest criticism and what I think is really holding the show down is that the main character, Sam Vines, is not a main character. This is a supporting character at best in its portrayal. He should not be the main character. I think it's a very poor acting choices are being made, and I think it's not compelling in any way. I like some of the supporting characters. So I'm like having fun every now and then. I won't watch any more now that we're done reviewing. So that's my short synopsis of how I feel about The Watch. Andrew, how do you feel about The Watch?
I have some similar opinions. I completely disagree with you on the main character.
No.
I think it's a performance that carries the show, frankly.
Absolutely not. If he was a supporting character, yes. This is not a main character.
Maybe you're right. We'll unpack that a little
Okay.
bit more. But on surface level, I disagree with you on the main character. I agree that this show is very middling. I'm not mad at the time that I spent watching it. I, too, am not going to continue watching this show. It didn't drag me in. But I would, however, be curious about where this show goes. Like, I would not be surprised if this show did find its footing. If it was lucky enough, and not every show was lucky enough to get a second season or a renewal on a middling show. That is a very lucky place to be. But I would not be surprised if 6 months or a year from now, I had a friend who was like, actually, they decided to go full comedy and it fucking rips now. I wouldn't be surprised, and that would actually be enough to nudge me back in. It is middling, but it really just needs to make some choices in terms of what genre it wants to be, because where it is right now, it isn't really anything, and it's trying different styles, which, while different, don't complement one another. They wash each other out. So it's a little tricky. It tries to be comedy when it should be dramatic, and it tries to be dramatic when it should be comedy, and the pacing is just a little slow. So yeah, similar to you, I'm kind of like, meh. But if someone told me it got real good at episode 10, I would be willing to dive back in and give this show a try.
I absolutely agree with you with, like, if in season 2 they got a different showrunner or they just, like, retooled it slightly, it can work. It's like, it's not far off from working. It doesn't work right now, but it's not finding that balance between the drama and the comedy. Like, it really wants to be Good Omens, the other great Terry Pratchett, similar fantasy, fun drama property that's been made recently, and it is not getting there at all. And I think part of it might be budget, but we can get into that.
It might be budget. I don't feel like Good Omens had an insane budget.
It clearly had more than this show.
Maybe. I would say that just the tone, the network TV tone doesn't really work for it. I don't know if it needs more money as much as it does need a different production company and distribution channel, because I feel like this same everything put on Amazon Prime or any streaming service is wildly different in its energy and its editing. So it's in this weird no man's land right now where if you haven't watched it and you're looking to kill time, it's a fine filler show would be my take on it.
If I had cable and it was on, I wouldn't turn it off. I'd put it on while I folded my laundry or something. But yeah, I wouldn't go out and look for it.
I feel like we're reaching a point where folding I don't know if this is just life in your 30s or if it's life in a quarantine.
We are constantly folding
It
laundry.
might be life in a quarantine. It might be life in your 30s. It might be life when you're trying to work out more and you have more sweaty, smelly clothing.
The working out thing, I think, is what it is.
That's definitely part of it, and also getting older in quarantine. But I feel like folding a laundry show is a new, like, semi-permanent review type of a show we've given things.
We
now.
have definitely created the genre of folding your laundry show.
A folding your laundry show.
Or movie.
Yeah.
So this is the folding your laundry show.
And it then the final question for the spoiler-free section is, can this be spoiled?
Not so far, not really. Like, pretty much all the air quote twists are in the opening. Like,
Right.
they have, like, some slight surprises. But yeah, there's not any really spoilers yet. We're only 4 episodes in. Maybe there will be later, but
Yeah.
I can't think of any.
I would say one character change that maybe you don't see coming from the introductory episode, but for the most part, it's it's pretty by the books.
Yeah. It's
So I don't think this can be spoiled for you.
I don't think
not
either.
other than one switch.
especially because if you're not familiar with it and someone tries to spoil it, you'll be like, "Who's that person?"
It's all
I
nonsense
don't know any
as well.
of these names or any
It's-
of these actors or what this universe is.
Yes.
It's pretty hard to spoil.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all nonsense. If you use just character names, I mean, there are also the dwarf one. There is also the captain, the werewolf one. So if you use their character type, or their D&D type,
The villain.
yeah, then you could maybe file it away. But for the most part,
The tank
yeah.
really did great.
Exactly. Their play style and type, that makes a difference. But yeah, I don't think, for the most part, I don't think this can be spoiled. So if you don't have an interest in watching, or if you've already watched, then hang on in there for the spoiler section. But before we get into everything about this show, or everything that we've learned from episodes 1 to 4 anyway, before we get into the spoilers of this show, we want to thank our wonderful sponsor of today's episode, new sponsor. Welcome to O&H Consulting.
O&H Consulting. If you are on the job hunt right now, you are going to want to get in touch with these people. They do resumes, they do career advice, they do interview prep. They'll spice up your LinkedIn and your social media.
They're going to give you a full toolkit. So they're going to make sure that what you have, like your resume, it doesn't suck, and it's not going to get knocked back by tracking software or picky hiring managers, because you need something that's good at a glance. For tracking software, that's something I can't speak to. O&H knows about it. Consult with them. They're O&H Consulting. But tracking software, they know how to trick that. I have had jobs where I've been in charge of hiring before.
Fancy
I
man
have.
over
I'm a
here.
fancy man.
Hiring manager Andrew Ivamy.
And depending on the number you get, decisions get made quick. And this is a important part of the job hunt, because I've had resumes that I've seen, and those who are in hiring or have dealt with a large number of resumes might know the code 110. Where this is like a hiring thing where you just mark something 110, where it looks innocuous when you glance at it. It's just a quick 110 at the top of the resume, but you connect the two ones together and it spells the word no. So it's a 110 cross-reference. So if you 110 cross-reference, no. So in a stack of resumes, you see a few with 110 on the top, you know that just don't even bother with those.
Oh my goodness.
That's the type. See, this is the type of inside stuff that a lot of people don't know. Why, and also why first impressions are really important when it comes to your resume, how it looks. People are making these decisions quick, so a place like O&H Consulting is going to help you make that right impression.
Yeah, you're going to get the first right impression with your resume, but they're also going to give you a coaching toolkit if you need that, so you can go on the right path when you go to your job searching, your goal setting, and when you get to the interview, you're going to make a really great first impression. They'll give you all the prep you need to land that job.
And on top of the coaching for how to get the job as well, in the process of hunting, things like spicing up your LinkedIn as well.
So important. Whenever I am told about a new person in the universe, their first thing you do is Google them.
Absolutely.
And you're going to check out what their stats are, how their page looks.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're going to work with someone, you're going to check out their LinkedIn, and it's got to look nice.
And as a couple people who are in charge of an online company and a media network, social media in a whole is a full-time job to figure out any one of them. And maybe in your personal time, you're listening to this, you're like, I love Twitter. So I spend so many hours on Twitter, I understand Twitter. You need to spend that same number of hours on LinkedIn to figure out how to maximize your LinkedIn, which
God.
I'm going to guarantee you haven't been doing.
Absolutely, because social media we do so much social media, and I've barely gotten a grasp on the ones that we do, and I have no idea about how to do a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
You need a professional.
So if any of these are sparking anything, and if there's anything else that you're not sure if they can help with, you can just ask. They have custom quotes available on targeting specific jobs or editing personal statements, going over package offers and benefits, a lot of other stuff over at O&H.
Yeah, and they're HR veterans and certified resume writers, so they're experts and they work with hiring managers and they know how to make you look good on paper in the interview.
And with industry knowledge in IT, marketing, sales, energy, education, so many different fields.
Tell me 3 more fields about them.
I would say retail, higher education, and nonprofit. How about that? Boom. You didn't think I'd have it? I did.
Roasted me.
Roasted you. They also have a weekly podcast called Hey, I Want Your Job, and a newsletter that you can subscribe to from their website with a bunch of tips and insider info to help you get ahead in 2021.
I really like this because then you can kind of get to know them a bit before you check out their packages.
That also helps too. That's so important. But you can also get custom quotes, and why not check them out? So O&H Consulting, they're the heroes you need in today's job market. Power up your resume, ace the interview, and soar into a new career. Use the promo code HEROES, that's HEROES, for $20 off your order for any toolkit at oandhconsulting.com. That's promo code HEROES for $20 off at oandhconsulting.com. Thank you, O&H, for your support of this episode and for your support of getting people the jobs that they deserve and need.
Thank you so much, O&H.
And now let's get into the spoiler section. Let's talk more about The Watch. All right, episodes 1 to 4 of The Watch. As much as in that opening section, we both agreed that this show is middling for the most part. The only thing that invokes a really strong emotion in me about this show, that really so many emotions, gets me creatively juiced, is that I am furious that the absolutely perfect video game was wasted on this television show. Every aspect of this show.
Such a weird energy to come in.
Real weird, strong energy.
Okay.
Every single aspect of this show is a mediocre show and is a pinpoint flawless video game.
All
Flawless.
the guilds.
Every single aspect of the world building, even the characters being different archetypes and fight styles and having different inherent abilities. If you could choose between any one of these main characters as you started a video game and the allegiances of different guilds, and when this show loses its momentum to be I feel like they're not really... They don't have their own momentum as characters. They're not really doing things because they've made the decision to be part of this story. They're really just completing a series of tasks that someone tells them to do. And when the show is not exciting in that way, it would have been acceptable as a video game for someone to tell you to do this, and controlling them and choosing to be an active participant is exciting.
See,
it's a perfect video game.
I can totally see what you mean about a video game, like a kind of a cooler Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
where
or
there are guilds and creeds and assassins.
A playful The Witcher. A fun The Witcher in a goofball universe. That is appealing as all hell.
See, I would say what is frustrating to me is they do get tasks, as you say, but they don't seem like they go places for motivation. They go places to explore the world. They're like, we haven't been to the Magic University yet. We haven't been to the Assassin's Guild yet. We haven't gone to the library yet. It seems like, and they're fun places to go. So it's not that I don't want to go there, but it doesn't always seem super motivated to get to these places. I'm not like, well, we must go to the Magic University. There's no other choice. And I'm also frustrated because once we went to the Magic University, I did not want to leave the Magic University. I was like, why isn't this the show? I love the Magic University.
And it's also maybe the best set that they have. Although
it was the funniest. It had the funniest jokes. And I don't know if it had the best set. The library looked really good.
The library did look really good. But yes, I agree with you. That's where you want the show to exist. That's where it shines. But yeah, you're given these quests, and they're not particularly well motivated. It's someone walks up and says, go to the Magic University. And then like a video game, a marker shows up on an imaginary map. And sure, the motivation is flimsy and loose, but if you, as a person playing a video game, were an active participant in that journey, it is something you would be a bit more invested in.
Yeah,
but in this show, you just are watching someone, or you cut to someone going to a random place.
Yeah, even in the most recent episode, they went to the no violence retirement home because Sam just got a message from his friend who lives there. And he was like, hey, there's some people here. You should come also. And I'm like, well, this wasn't like a lot of detective work or anything, but I'm glad we're here. Because I did have fun once we all got to the no violence retirement home.
That was a blast, huh?
That was a good time. Yeah, the whole like they didn't quite land it still, but it was probably the closest they got to their drama meets comedy. Because you have the meeting between Sam and Carcer, the villain and the main character, and like they have all this history together, and I will say their history is very, very good. They have all this history together, and they're about to have a semi-final showdown, and then this building doesn't allow violence, so they have to dance together, and it's very funny, and it really finally found, I think, the humor that this show wanted mixed in with its drama.
Yeah, in that particular episode and in that particular storyline, I couldn't agree more. That was the best balance we'd seen of these first 4 episodes. That felt like the show was being Legends of Tomorrow. It felt like fantasy Legends of Tomorrow to be
Absolutely
like,
felt like
this
Legends of Tomorrow.
goofball crew is part of some real silly antics that is occasionally fourth wall breaking and playful. That felt like a stride for this show. Yeah. So for those of you who haven't seen the show or haven't read the novels, which I haven't either.
I haven't either, and I have to point out, because I know people are quite upset that this show is not close to like the novels at all. We're just reviewing the show. We didn't read the books. I have no idea if it's good or bad in comparison. And I know they did have to change it from based on to inspired by.
Yeah.
So that's never a good sign of a good rendition.
And I know for our regular listeners, we're not typically the podcast that beat for beat will compare the comic book movie to the comic book. But we typically have that as like a base knowledge to draw from. We're blank on this one. So
didn't see any discs.
Apologies for our ignorance. But yes, inspired by, which is just the loosest credit possible in the world of writing credits.
Kind of like.
The person who wrote this show read Terry Pratchett once is basically what inspired by means. So pretty loosely based on the books. Well, what's going on in the show is we have the Watch, essentially the police force ran by a washed up drunk and a ragtag crew of 4 miscreants. One is a werewolf. We have one guy who is a human, who's an adopted dwarf.
So he is a dwarf and a human. It's quite funny.
Yeah, and we have a recent addition of a vigilante kind of Batwoman type who's part of the crew.
And then Corporal Cheery is kind of forensics.
Yeah, Cheery, I don't really know.
Cheery's forensics.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I don't really know if I include Cheery as part of the crew. It seems like Cheery's becoming more crew-esque, but the introduction of Cheery really felt like it was like, this is the character who's going to breeze through every episode or two with a bit of forensics. But
Cheery had a weird introduction because Carrot woke up in medbay, and it felt like we were at like Cheery's lab that wasn't part of the Watch. It didn't feel like we were in the same building.
Oh, I thought we were in a different building.
Oh, well then...
So that's why this vibe is...
We both thought Cheery was like an outside consultant.
Yes.
But then she turned out to be part of the team.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I thought...
She gave vibes of outside consultant.
I thought that Carrot, the human dwarf, was waking up at Cheery's place / office / medical lab, which was somewhere totally different. So we'll say Cheery's part of the crew.
I think Cheery's part of the crew. And then Werewolf, Corporal.
Yeah, and previously Sarge, a rock troll.
Sarge, R.I.P. Sarge, the rock troll.
All right, so that was the spoiler I was alluding to at the beginning of the episode, which is that a character we meet in episode 1, the rock troll, does die in episode 2.
Which I would like to get into, but to establish the world a little bit more on top of that, the Watch is a police force that can't do anything because crime is legal. So it's kind of a cool idea. So like if you want to be a thief, you have to join the Thieves Guild, and then you have a quota of thieveries you can do a month, of steals, of crimes.
Legalized crime is basically what they have going on. And it's a very interesting world. I love everything that they've set up. I like these basic archetypes for the ragtag group that is the Watch. I enjoy the different guilds and the diplomacy of which. I enjoy this taking place in like a no man's land where this has happened, and it's not normal for the world, it's just normal for this city where things have gotten out of hand. I really like all of the world building and dynamics that they've set up.
I actually think the world building on paper, which is maybe what they did take from the books, and that's why it's so good, is so well set up. And the guilds are interesting. The no crime is interesting, but like some crimes, if you don't leave a receipt, is still a crime.
If it's not a sanctioned crime.
If it's not a sanctioned crime, you can still go to jail for like tax evasion and stuff, which is very interesting. And just in terms of character building, I know we'll get into this in a second because you were very shocked that I don't like the acting of Sam Vines. But on paper, the relationship and the backstory between him and Carcer is phenomenal.
I agree.
One of the best villain hero backstories I can think of.
Yeah.
Like so simple, but so complex. And like you understand why this villain is mad. You understand why Sam did what he did. Like this is a really great relationship between a hero and a villain.
Yeah. And I agree with you. That's a great relationship. They kind of screw up going back to that a little too often with a flashback of what I think is the worst scene of that. So one of the strengths of that, if we can dive into, take a bite out of that real quick.
I'll dive in. Let me put my goggles on.
Is that main scene between the captain and what's the villain's name? Carcer. Between who becomes the captain and Carcer. It's the episode 1, this introduction scene. They're both young. And the captain is a gang member who's infiltrating the Watch, and he's supposed to kill his superior. And there's this, he's torn between two worlds. Mm-hmm. Do I respect the Watch or do I respect the gang and this guy who's my friend?
Oh, and he's supposed to kill his superior and release everyone else in the gang from prison.
Yes.
So he's got 2 jobs to do.
2 jobs to do, and he is a man torn between 2 worlds. And the actor who plays young him is doing a phenomenal job. And it's a very well lit and shot and laid out scene where it's this big, it feels like the end of a movie we didn't see. Mm-hmm. And it's this big emotional crux of like, who do I choose? The man who is a gang member, but who raised me and took care of me, or this Law and Order man who's become a surrogate father to me and who wants me to bring justice to this city. Where does my loyalty lie? And he hesitates. His Law and Order father figure gets shot. Mm-hmm. And then they go to a rooftop where the bad guy falls. Mm-hmm. And that rooftop scene is very, in my opinion, bland and boring and slow and poorly lit and mostly a digital background that they can't afford to do and not a practical set. And that's what the show keeps flashing back to. Not this big emotional, you killed my father figure in front of me, like even though
they're both in the same shot and they're shaking each other. It's filled with emotion.
It is stage actors playing off of one another. Mm-hmm. Instead of flashing back to that, the show will not stop flashing back to a man reacting to nothing from nowhere on a digital screen with shitty rain, poorly lit, with no emotion on his face. And they keep cutting back to that being like, fuck, remember that awesome beginning? It's the worst scene. It's the worst moment of that thing that they could flash back to.
On paper, it is a good scene. And they didn't execute that scene as well as they did the other scenes. Because that is the moment where he, like, I do like this speech that he kind of gives, even though it's a little on the nose, about how he didn't make a choice about whether to kill him or arrest him, so he just let him fall. And you can't just watch, air quote. That's the name of the show.
You said the name of the show.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio with the glass. You get it.
Yeah, he's pointing at it. Yeah.
But I do think that moment is full of like emotion on paper, like arrest me or kill me. Like these are the choices. These two are still emotionally at odds. But yeah, it's not interesting to just keep flashing back to Carcer hanging off an edge. And they haven't done anything interesting with like all that purple lightning.
Yeah.
Like there's purple lightning everywhere, but it's not beautiful. It's not like freaking you out. It's not lighting the scene in an interesting way.
At no point do they have purple reflections or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's such a good set piece. Like you're on a magic roof full of purple lightning and clouds. Like it should look really cool.
Like think of any moment from like Star Wars when you see the reflection of a lightsaber on a character's face, and the second that lighting effect hits someone's face in that ridiculous fantasy setting, that lighting effect hitting someone's face, you're like, oh shit, it's going down. It evokes an emotional response deep in us. And this never bothers with that. And the lighting looks shitty. It doesn't have a lighting effect, and it doesn't hit them or do anything really. Like, I get that they're using it as a story prop, but this easily could have been anything anywhere else. If this whole scene took place on the Watch Precinct rooftop, it would be one location, a wide shot where everyone's in it, acting off one another. But instead, we're just getting these flashbacks to actors alone, looking at nothing and no one.
And what's really weird is they keep cutting to this shot of Carcer falling into the lightning, and they haven't shown Carcer get hit by the lightning yet, which is how I assume he becomes immortal or has stayed young or whatever is going on with him. And I'm like, what's the lightning here?
Yeah.
Hit him with it.
Yep.
Reflect it off him. Throw him into that lightning like a pinball.
Anything.
Do anything. If you're going to flashback to a scene 8 times an episode, it should have been the best scene you filmed.
Yeah.
You should have been like, oh shit, we got to spend some time on this. We're using this footage a lot.
And instead, it was the slow, weird ending to what is a great story beat.
It's a great storyline.
I fully agree with you. Great storyline.
Now I think that brings us to Sam Vines, the actor, as a main character and as
Sure.
being portrayed.
I think he's terrific. I think he really has a great understanding of this character. I think it is definitely a bit much and over the top, but I enjoy how stage this character is, and it feels like closer to what the tone of this show should be. Like, the editing of this show is not Hollywood. Like, it is the least, air quote, Hollywood that anything could ever be. It's very slow paced. There's no quick cuts. There's not multiple camera angles. It is very British. It is very stage. It is very stagnant. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But no, everyone's acting for American Hollywood television, which is, I slowly deliver my lines. I'm going to look at you and wait. You slowly deliver your line. And we're going to cut, edit, cut, edit. They'll pick up the pace later. And no one did. But the captain is fucking chewing scenery, and I love it. I
don't love it. I think none of the things he's doing is particularly funny. I don't think it's particularly how any human does anything. And to me, it is very supporting character. I think if he was just a guy who was in the background every now and then, or like was a supporting character, I'd be more with it. He reminds me a lot of several different pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean. And it doesn't give me any emotional resonance with this character. I don't feel like he's a real human being. I don't feel like he actually feels anything about Carcer or Lady Remkin or like his life in general. I get the archetype they're going for. He's like, I feel like they really wanted to be like kind of a house, like angry, really smart guy who's just nihilistic. But like, he just feels too cartoony to me. I don't like these choices. It's too big. It's too much. I think I'd love him in a supporting role. I don't like him as the main character in the show.
Now, hear me out with this.
All right, hear me out.
Is that my appreciation of his character did lessen over time.
I feel like he also lessened what he was doing over time, which I started to like him more.
Oh, well, I was not even going to say because of that. I would say because of the fact that I really liked Sarge, the rock troll, who was his best friend, who in saving one another's life kind of doomed one another to this life, which I think they had a very interesting backstory as well. This rock troll who, in saving the captain's life, had to abandon his bridge and duty, finding a new duty, and the captain respecting him and always taking care of him for that dereliction of his previous duty, but also hating that he's alive because this rock troll saved him from committing suicide. This giving purpose to one another's life was a beautiful little story they were telling. And I like how the rock troll was kind of like big and powerful and visually represented the performance that the captain was giving, but was very like quiet and reserved. And as a pair, they felt like the anchor to this show, where I'm like, we have this normal looking human who's giving this big, loud, brassy stage performance. And then we have this big, loud, visually in our face rock troll who is quiet and reserved and keeping this man alive.
In line, yeah. Okay.
And I really like that together. And once they killed off Sarge as a character relatively quickly after giving him a beautiful backstory, then it just kind of became someone's monologue at an audition. It became, as much as I love him doing this character, he's doing it alone without that quiet partner.
Oh, see, none of that really came into play for me. I've enjoyed Sarge more as he just gets more serious about finding Cursor and drops these big facial movements that he's been doing. They're kind of just gone now, which I like. I like him more and more as we go. Yeah, I think this is another thing where it's on paper. I mean, I actually liked the Rock Troll guy a lot too. But it was weird. This is where I think the budget comes in because they did say this nice backstory for him and the Rock Troll. And then when they flash back to it, it just shows Sam and he's wet. Like, we don't see the bridge. We don't see the Rock Troll in the scene interact with Sam in the flashback. So it didn't feel real. And then when he died so abruptly, I was like, well, I didn't feel connected to you. I didn't get a flashback to even how you two knew each other. I'm going to miss you because I think it's cool that there was a Rock Troll here. I don't know why you were on the poster for the show. You died in episode 1.
Yeah. Beginning of episode 2.
Oh, sorry. Right, because that's how how he gets saved. So yeah, I liked Rock Troll. I get what you're saying. That is a nice dynamic, over the top, tiny human, very reserved, big rock man. That's a classic
comedy duo. Yeah.
And R.I.P. poor Rockman. You deserve more. I don't know if
good character.
I don't know if they couldn't afford to do you all the time, or you were just a lot of work.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know if that was visual or practical effect, and I think that's a huge compliment to the show to say that I can't tell what that was.
I'm gonna definitely say that was practical.
You think that was a guy in a suit?
Yeah, there were scenes where they were like throwing paper in the office and stuff. He was definitely really there.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. I could see that, yeah. Or maybe like a mixture of two, but I see what you're saying. Yeah.
We can mix them together. I think he was really there. Or maybe not the scene where he was like destroying the floor, which was very funny.
Oh, that was really good.
They went to see the mayor, and the mayor's like, no, not you, the floors. No.
Oh, my floors. Ah, you got
and
it.
then he looks down really sad.
He's sad and dejected.
because he broke the floors.
Small reserve moments. Great comedy partner for Captain. So for Captain, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. But I think that it highlights one of the problems that I think we want to get into, which is the tonal disparity and problem with this show, where it doesn't know whether it wants to be big and comedy or if it wants to be a very dramatic, serious, dramatic. Like, there are times where I wrote down, this feels like the characters from Firefly are existing in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like, they're traveling through the wrong universe for the tone of the story they're telling, where there are some times where, like, the show breaks the fourth wall. I forget, what's the drug called? Do you recall?
Scam? Spam?
Scam, spam, skank, skiz. Scam.
Smack? No, it wasn't smack.
No, they wouldn't have gone. Whatever it was. Drug. We'll just call it drug. When they meet that gang leader and she's like, drug? I never mess with the stuff. And on screen, the word drug comes up, pointing at all of the drug.
Fun!
Because, like, the show's like, you don't know what this silly made-up drug would look like, so let's point it out. That's fun. That's hilarious. That's super playful. But none of these characters feel like they exist in that world. Or the wizard university guy who can't curse or who can't use curse words because he's cursed himself for curses. That's hilarious and fourth wall breaking. But no one really exists in that world with him.
But honestly, I feel like that's the best comedy they do is the comedy that the characters don't know about. Like, the characters don't know that they just pointed at all the things. I think the characters can hear when that guy's swearing, whatever that sound is.
They can hear that, yeah.
But the characters, I don't get the impression, can understand the goblins, who are
Which is the best show.
Far
Hands
the
down.
best, the funniest thing happening on this show, and the most compelling storyline happening is these goblins
wanting to unionize
and start a revolution, but also they just started a relationship together. There is so much happening with these goblins. I adore them. I would watch I don't know if they would work as an entire show. It is a perfect side character and this side plot that's just kind of constantly evolving of like, do you guys get dental? Did you read my pamphlets? They're so funny, and the fact that everyone else thinks they're dumb is hilarious. And like, these are the jokes that land the best, and it's the one that the characters in the show don't know about. which is kind of a weird dynamic. It almost feels like they added them in post. They were like, oh shit, it's not funny enough. We gotta add some jokes in.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Because I can hardly think of any other jokes that were like hugely funny within the show other than at Magic University when that wizard was just dead.
Oh, yeah, the receptionist or whatever. They're like, let him sleep. Like, none of you noticed he's dead. Wonderful joke.
Wonderful joke. But yeah, I can't think of any other jokes that were like laugh out loud good.
Yeah.
But they always go to fun places and act like it's going to be really fun. And then they're just kind of like, that was fun, right? We're in fun musician costumes. And I'm like, but are you having fun with it? They're like, no, we're not having fun with it. But look at these crazy costumes.
And it just lacks the polish and pacing of American network stuff. Like, it just doesn't work with the British style that they're doing. Like, that was such a fun premise to be like, we need to join a guild. We're joining the Musicians Guild. We're this crazy punk band. That flat out feels like a premise and storyline from a Legends of Tomorrow episode.
It feels so Legends-esque, and they would all have different problems with being in the band that they'd have to overcome and fake, and they'd have different styles of who's going to dress as what, and it would be so fun.
But it
wasn't all that fun.
It didn't have the jokes per minute. The song wasn't that good. It was happening in kind of like what felt like a real audition room. It didn't have any fun, peppy editing for this fun, peppy moment. And I'm not saying everything needs to have that type of like a Hollywood network TV, CW, quick cut, we got to keep it moving and keep it attentive. But when it suits the tone and scene, and for let's audition a punk rock band in a fantasy universe, that is fun and match your goddamn tone.
And also, we're having a musical audition of a punk band in one building, while another person on our team is breaking into the Assassins Guild and also having fights. Like, how do you not have like cuts from the song to her fights that are happening while she fights that Alice girl or the guy who killed her parents? Like, that's how you do it. You have music playing, you cut to fight scenes or interesting like avoiding being caught stuff, and you intersperse it in montage. Like, I'm jazzed for what I'm picturing in my head.
Because you make it a music video. They play a song which choreographs the fight scene. But this is where it was British stage, where they're like, we need to audition a band. And then they play the song, and we see it beginning to end. But before that scene, our other agent is about to get into a fist fight. Then we see the whole song play out. Then we cut back to just one long scene of a fight, which is a fine scene, but there was no intercutting. Why is there no intercutting?
And the song wasn't funny. The idea of the song was funny, that it's a dwarf song and it's just 1,500 different words for gold. It's a fun premise for a second, but I don't want to watch 3 minutes of different words that mean gold.
Yeah.
That's not a running joke. Yeah. So it is so close to getting there.
It is very close.
It is walking the line of finding what Good Omens had, which was that perfect line of comedy and drama.
Yeah, and I think...
And over-the-topness within the scenes, even while they're being dramatic.
Yes, yeah. And I think also Good Omens really had going for it, even when it's not edited quickly or like paced peppily, it's bright and vibrant, and it is this cartoony world. And even though this is a very cartoony world, they have made it grimy and dull. And it's not just a matter of like, oh, spend more money or make bigger sets or more elaborate things. Like there are moments where I can tell that these are practical wardrobe and costumes, and it looks fantastic. Like Cheery always has these incredible outfits, and Lady Sybil is wearing these like dresses and overcoats that are gorgeous.
Lady Remkin's whole attire is gorgeous, and like, but like I get the point.
But it's dull.
I was gonna say the point you're obviously getting to is that it's all dull. Like her red hair is just nothing, and I think it's supposed to be like bright and vibrant and look really good. And every scene, like they've done quite a good job with wardrobe and really creating this world on this kind of limited budget they have. But yeah, it is all just all dull. Yeah, it's never fun to look at. It's never popping, which is crazy if you look at the poster for this show.
Oh, I don't think I actually had a good look at the poster for oh, shit. Yeah, it's neon Technicolor.
It's neon. It's bright. They're trying to make you think you're coming to like cyberpunk.
Well, this feels very, very James Gunn
Ooh,
Guardians
that is
or
very
James Gunn, what I presume will be like his Suicide Squad 2, or at least from like teasers. Like
it's neon. They're misfits. We're gonna have fun.
We're gonna have fun. We're gonna be we're gonna be irreverent. We're gonna be self-referential. We are gonna break the fourth wall a couple times. Like this level of self-aware playfulness is what it seems to visually convey that the show is lacking.
If this show matched that poster,
it
would be crushing it.
It would be a blast. Yeah, there are so many things that are just kind of just so almost close. But the clever stuff is so clever and unpretentious. But the serious stuff is it's just way too serious.
It's way too serious, and they're not having any fun. So they don't quite capture the comedy, and the colors are muted. And I think they also really do not make a good job of feeling that there's any danger or what the problem of the show is. Because for 4 episodes now, it's been, how do we stop this dragon? And we've never been close to the dragon. I'm never quite sure if the dragon's up there or if he's currently clouds or if he's what's going on with the dragon.
I got the impression the dragon disappears until magically summoned.
But he's still killing people every now and then,
Right.
and sometimes
But only
they're virgins,
virgins?
but we're not sure if they're virgins or if that's just a joke that isn't landing. So, like, this whole, like, we need to find this sword to stop this dragon. I'm like, okay, you've got a quest, but I don't, like, we're never with the dragon. We never see people getting burnt up by the dragon. This feels like another budget thing or just a poorly paced danger.
I'm not putting this on budget. I'm putting this 100% on writing.
I feel like they just can't make the dragon.
Even if that's the case, you can write a ticking clock. So many things write a ticking clock.
Like, what if the dragon showed up every 15 hours?
On a $30 budget, I can write a ticking clock. You can never show the dragon and write a ticking clock. Like there are so many ways to do tension without showing the monster. Alien does it. Jaws does it. Like there's so much you can do without showing it. You could just be like, create a mythos of like the last time a full grown, there's a reason we don't let dragons get full grown anymore. The last time it happened, they're uncontrollable. They will scorch the earth and nothing will ever live again. Oh shit, someone's bringing back a full dragon. You never see it, but that's the ticket. There are so many ways. It's all writing.
Game of Thrones did an incredible early thing about dragons because Daenerys was just letting one of her dragons fly around and eat goats. And then there's one scene where a father who doesn't even speak English, so he can't tell what he's saying, just brings the charred body of his child to Daenerys' feet.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, dragons.
He's moved on from goats.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no, dragons are bad. And they really need an oh no, dragons are bad. Because they just keep showing us like some clothes and they're like, this used to be a person. And I'm like, can we see someone die maybe?
And everyone who dies, it's like, oh, these were members of the Assassin's Guild. We don't like that. Where's the hilt to the sword? Like, no urgency.
No urgency, no feeling like we're ever actually going to get hurt or that real people are going to get hurt or that the city's in any danger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm going to go back to our word, middling.
Yeah, because the
meandering, perhaps.
The character's personal connection between the captain and Carcer.
Very good.
Very good. I fully understand why he wants to meet his old gang buddy who hasn't aged, and he's curious and he's angry, but he's also
killed the cop guy.
But he's also mournful and regretful for his own actions. Lots of complicated stuff. I understand that motivation. Great. But the ticking clock of what Carcer's doing, they've added also too much mystery around Carcer, where there's the mystery of why didn't he age? Then there's the mystery of what is he doing? Who is he doing it for? And you need to answer one of these things to have stakes. That I don't need to know everything about Carcer, but I would like to know what he's doing.
I would like to know that you know what he's doing. Because when you just add more and more questions, I'm like, don't you lost us?
Yeah, you lost me once, shame on me. All right, lost me twice, you're never going to lost me again.
Yeah, we know if you don't answer any questions, you don't have any answers.
Yeah.
For every question you bring up, you have to answer one thing.
Yeah.
It's got to be an even scale. You can't just have more and more questions about Carcer.
And that's what they're so far what they've been doing, which is really piling on questions about Cursor, giving us flashes of what's going on, but trying to keep everything, hidden in mystery. At the end of episode 4, we see him go to the Observer's realm. It just seems to be galactic observers who watch everything, but also really hate a group of people who exist now.
Yeah, but but can't seem to get involved, but are getting involved because they're sending Cursor back.
But are infinitely powerful, but also can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's
Not
soft.
interested in
it's
that.
a
Yeah,
soft
I was way more
reason.
interested when I thought he just got immortality from some lightning when he fell off a building.
Yeah, or I thought he just time traveled.
Oh, you thought he time traveled?
I thought it was just bloop, bloop, and then he was just in present day. And they imply that he's time traveled. He went to the future, is what the observers
Yes,
say.
because he has some future memories when Sam's in his head on that,
Yeah.
when he's like seeing through his eyes.
So he went to the future and then went back to the past to kill these people that the observers hate. But the Watch have no idea about the observers. They don't care about the observers.
No, they just care about that dragon.
Yeah. So yeah, the stakes are all foggy. Also, the Observer's Realm is just straight up the game control. It's just that it is just exactly the layout and design and general air and creepiness of the video game control. So that just feels a little, I've already seen this and been here. I've beat this level.
I've never played the game Control, but even I was like, I've seen this. Bunch of moving blocks. Yeah.
We know this fucking world.
I've seen shadowy blocks move around.
Yeah, just
I've played Mario Brothers and other things.
just make this a goddamn video game, please. It's such a good video.
I feel like that is another genre we've also made. We've made fold your clothes genre and would be a better video game genre.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I think, might be one of the most extreme would be a perfect video game. Because we've joked it would be a perfect video game when things have good, like, level design.
Yeah,
When it's like,
John Wick.
You're John Wick or, like, Inception to be like, each level is a level. It's very clear. Like, this could be, but this, the characters, the archetypes, the missions, the guilds, the world, it is perfect. Perfect.
I have, I think I'm going to go out on a positive, oddly enough. Another fun thing that I think we skipped over that I have super been enjoying is Death.
I do really like Death.
I think Death is really fun. Who's playing Death? He's doing a great job. I don't have a
the gentleman who plays Death is Wendell Pierce.
Wendell Pierce is doing a great job as Death. I like the design a lot. It's very simple with these just LED glowing eyes in a hood. It's kind of nothing you haven't seen before, but it is that nice tone of drama and comedy in the character design. Of like, you could be scary or you could be funny. So I think Death is very well designed. I really like how each character is meeting death per episode. I think that's a very fun framing device. So kind of everything with Death is crushing it, and that's the exact tone this show needs.
And part of the reason why everything with Death is crushing it, I find, is the fact that Death, you're right, is the perfect tone, but it is also one of the few sillier aspects that the characters have actually gotten a chance to interact with. Whereas the goblins, they don't hear and understand. They're not trying to crush the Goblin Union. They have no idea about the Goblin Union. Then, like, the other stuff, like things popping up on the screen that we, the audience, see, they don't see.
We don't see when the leader of the Assassin's Guild has a karaoke room. They're not part of that.
Yeah, those are cutaways for us, and they're funny, but Death is the only one. And, the dancing at the retirement home, which was another thing that actually work.
Worked, yeah.
That is a silly universe thing that our characters get to be part of. And we get to see how they would interact with things that we're enjoying about this universe. So I couldn't agree more. Death is absolutely killing it.
And Death is really great because the actor is very funny and the scenes are very funny, but Death is just inherently serious. And so I like that, like, with Sam, they're funnier scenes. With Lady Remkin, she does a great performance of, like, did you take my parents? What did they say when they died? It's very, actually, probably, like, the most emotional this show's gotten. Did a really, really great job. I also really like just the explanation of Death being there. For Lady Remkin especially, he shows up and she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, well, you were going to shoot him, but now you're not. So, like, I was gonna take his body, but so should I leave? Should I stay?
Him as like a 9-to-5 job guy to be like, I don't want to have to go collect a different soul and then come all the way back here because you decided to go.
Not doing two trips.
Not doing 2 trips. When he asked Carrot, when he's like, do you want to just get a beer after this?
Because he's lonely.
Love it.
Love it.
So playful and fun, and it just works.
Yeah, this show is. The more we talk about it, the more frustrated I am that this show is close to being really, really good.
Yeah.
But it's not there at all.
How do you feel about Angua?
I think she's
Angua?
Angua. I think she's cool.
Yeah.
I think she's. I feel like there's too many quiet people. Like Cheery is nice, but she's also kind of quiet. Like
Reserved.
Reserved is a good word. And Karen is nice, but he's reserved and just a little bit awkward. And then Sam's very big. And then Lady Remkin is badass and reserved. And so I just feel like there's too many of them, and Angua is the most reserved. But I think she's cool.
Everyone's stoically British, even if they're except for the Irishman, who is not the Irishman's not stoically British.
In this weird fantasy comedy, everyone's just stoically British and reserved,
except for one drunk Irishman.
Yeah, one drunk Irishman. So yeah, I like her, but I think she's cool. But like, she hasn't. I do really like some of the lines she gets. Like, I decide who gets to see me. I think that's a very cool aspect of discovering of a werewolf to kind of delve into. I don't really know what else to say about Angua.
Yeah, I was just curious. I like her as well. I think she's giving a good performance. I think that there's something in the physicality that is particularly interesting about having the smallest person be this big, imposing monster in the dark, this big werewolf thing. It's a dichotomy that you don't typically see outside of maybe like a Jekyll and Hyde archetype.
I do really like that too, and I feel like she has a very good physicality of like, I am dangerous and I know it, but I'm like holding it in, but I also walk like a cop.
Yeah. She has physically embodied that really well. Walk like a cop is a good way to say it. She walks like someone who is not afraid of anything that happens around her, even when she's not ready for the fight. Like, she's not in werewolf form. It's broad daylight. There's going to be no full moon anytime soon. But she walks like someone who has already won the most of the fights in her life. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's a lot to the subtlety of her performance that
works. And she might have enhanced strength regularly, perhaps, because she did beat some guys up non-werewolfy.
Maybe.
I would say Lady Remkin is my favorite, actually. I think she's great. I think she is crushing it performance-wise. Her looks are crisp. Mm-hmm. I like when she just like randomly has maces and axes all the time. Yeah, she's probably my favorite character.
Yeah, she's really fun. She works for me as it's also an interesting, I think, perspective to get introduced to her character, to see a Batman archetype as introduced from the Commissioner Gordon point of view, to be like,
oh, I hadn't thought of it like that, but yeah.
We are seeing a failing police department with a washed up drunk head who is ready to give up on everything until an above the law vigilante.
And she's rich, and she's got a ton of weapons, and she's been fighting crime on her own.
Yeah,
and she's like, I can do this better.
This is a Batman story from the perspective of Commissioner Gordon.
And I will not become a cop.
Yeah.
My parents were killed in front of me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's Batman.
Yeah. I'm surprised the whole time I'm like, oh, you made Batman. You made Batman, but we're experiencing Batman through the eyes of Commissioner Gordon. And it's cool as hell.
It is cool as hell. You got me there.
And it really gives me a new perspective on Batman and Commissioner Gordon, where I'm like, seeing her story through the Captain's eyes, I'm like, now immediately I'm like, of course Commissioner Gordon's like, do whatever you want, Batman.
I am so tied up in bureaucracy and like dirty cops, I can't get anything done. Go on, Batman.
And also, I was fucked before you got here.
Was fucked before.
Absolutely fucked. But yeah, I really like Lady Remkin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's, I think, everything I wanted to say about the watch. How you feeling?
I'm pretty watched out.
All right, well, let's go in for the close, where we ask the final question of what would you change? So if there's anything you could change about this, what would it be? But before we do ask that final question, we want to give a shout out to our other wonderful sponsor of today's episode. You know them, you love them, you wear them. It's tpublic.com.
It's tpublic.com. You can wear them on your face. You can wear them on your body. You can wear them on your phone case. You can wear them on your laptop case. You can get some art. You can do anything with the designs at tpublic.com. Stickers.
I was going to say you can't do anything, but stickers really do open up a realm of possibilities.
Once you got stickers,
So tpublic.com, it's fantastic designs submitted by independent artists who are getting commissions for their work. I love this site because they support independent artists, not only the artists who design and put everything up there, but artists like us, the podcast artists, because we also get supported anytime you buy anything through our show link. So you go to the show link, you buy something from tpublic.com, you get something great, you support the artist who designed it, and you support this podcast, and you get cool stuff like the one that I'm liking right now. It's called Alien Movie Mask, and it is a face mask, and it is the mouth from the movie Alien with the little mouth inside the mouth. So you know the little mouth.
Oh, we know the mouth. So you can have a mouth on your mouth with a mouth in the mouth.
It is wild. And what's great is that it's you can get the pleated double layer face mask, which allows you to put a liner in between. So if you have anything for additional protection, like we'll do like the cut up HEPA filters that will slide in there. So I really like the pleated double layer. But they have a different styles of the face mask. And yeah, I just like it's fun. The alien mouth. So over your mouth, you have the alien mouth, and inside the alien mouth, there's that other little alien mouth.
Yo, dog, I heard you like mouths.
Put a mouth in your mouth so you can mouth while you mouth. That's what I'm liking this week.
My shirt this week is called Own Side. I chose a shirt from Good Omens, Terry Pratchett's other property that we have reviewed. And it's by the always amazing Rizza Riddell. They have made some incredible shirts in our store. It says we're on our own side, and it's Crowley and Aziraphale just having some tea together. And then there's the snake from Eden and stuff. It's all the good stuff from Good Omens. You're going to want it. It's delightful.
Go check it out. And you can find either of the designs that we just mentioned at our storefront, which is at tpublic.fromsuperheroes.com. That's TEE public.fromsuperheroes.com. Once again, shop through that store link. You'll see a bunch of the ones we mentioned on the site, or even if you just search around, find something that you like, you'll support the artist who designed it. You'll also support this podcast as well.
Double supports, guys.
And you'll get a shirt or a mask.
You'll get a shirt.
You'll get something out of it. tpublic.fromsuperheroes.com. And thank you, TeePublic, for your support.
And for stickers.
I love
stickers.
And as well, we'll remind you, as we do every week, you can skip past this if you've already done it. If you haven't earned the right. Hang around. You can support this podcast. Aggressive energy, I know. Real aggressive energy.
Andrew really needs some reviews, you guys.
Y'all, I need this. You can support this podcast for free by subscribing, rating, and reviewing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your fine podcasts. It hugely helps this show, because then within those podcatchers, we will be recommended to new listeners. And when new listeners find us, people do read those reviews, so it increases the likelihood that we'll get listened to. And sometimes it's just the little stuff. Like, even if your review is just like 5 stars and the word nice or noise or just one word, whatever it is, having recent reviews encourage the new listeners to actually listen.
They're like, oh, these people are up to date and hip and happening.
Because they hide a lot of the stats from us. But one thing that we know for sure is that if the reviews are old, even if we've got a lot of 5-star reviews, which is awesome, if someone comes to check us out and we haven't been reviewed in a year, then it's like a ghost ship. People are like, does anyone still live here? Like, is this sea bearing? What's happening right now?
And they also, on some apps, will show the dates. So you want to have some crunchy new ones up there.
Ooh, crunchy. I
want to take a bite out of these reviews because I love them.
Also, we read them, and it does mean a lot to us. So when we're having a bit of a down day or we want a little boost, we'll read them, and it picks us up, and we really appreciate it on a personal level.
Yeah.
So head on over, subscribe, rate, review, and as well, if you want to support the show monetarily, you can check us out over on Patreon, which is a subscription service where you can subscribe to the online content creators you know and love, like us, and you'll get cool exclusive bonuses for doing it. You'll get different things, like you can get our webcomic text from superheroes a day early, or drafts and different texts that have never been published to the public, which is cool as hell. Also, you'll get exclusive inside access to some of our Patreon game night stuff.
I love the drafts idea. You want to see our bad jokes?
We've had a few that people, like patrons, are like, those are bangers, and they love it. So
I think a couple we actually ended up photoshopping afterwards even.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, I guess they were fine.
And also, like, a lot of them are just like fun and silly, and it's, I think, interesting for a lot of people to see the process. And as well, if you're a big fan of the podcast, which we assume you are, you can, at the $10 hero level, get an exclusive bonus episode of this podcast every single month. This month we did the film Karate Karate Kid before we did a Cobra Kai on the podcast. So you can hear us talk about more karate chops and kicks over on the Patreon exclusive episode. And when you sign up, you get immediate access to the back catalog. So you get all the old ones ready for your listening pleasure. And now Patreon has the option for subscribing at a yearly level. You don't have to do this. You can do the monthly. You can give us $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you can afford. But you can also go yearly, which means, let's say you want to do $1 a month, you can just do a year in advance, so it doesn't feel silly having a $1 charge every month, which we know some people feel. Also, it reduces transaction fees, it reduces charges for you, and you get 1 month free when you do the 1 year in advance. So check it out. It's worth it's worth checking out.
It's all good stuff. We'll take your money any way you want to give it to us, though. We'll take the monthly. We'll take the yearly. You do you.
You do you.
And if it's not in the budget, don't even worry about it.
We understand that as well, but we appreciate all of you who do make a little room in the budget and who check it out. But we appreciate all of you in general. So check that out. That's over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That's patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
I am slightly iffy on my change after what we just talked about at the end there, because my change originally was going to be that I think Lady Remkin should be the lead character. And it shouldn't be the Watch, actually, oddly enough. But now that you've been this whole like Commissioner Gordon and Batman thing, I'm like, well, I've seen a Batman show. Then again, I've also seen Gotham. So maybe we can still do it this way. Yeah, I just feel like the show kind of just like, if I'm not going to change the tone and stuff, which is kind of difficult, I would though. But I just feel like they kind of made too many main characters. Like Sam seems to be the main character, Captain Sam. But then Carrot shows up as the POV character.
Because he's the new guy.
And he gets a lot of screen time in that first episode. I'm like, oh, okay, Carrot's the main character. And then Lady Remkin shows up, and she's just in charge after episode 2. She's leading the mission. She's coming up with how they're going to do stuff. She's giving them weapons. She's kitting them out. So it just feels like we made 3 main characters, but not on purpose. And they also just don't know who the actual main character is. So I kind of just want to have like Lady Remkin be doing what she's doing. Go to the Watch. She's the POV character and the main character. The Watch has to be explained to her why they're not doing their job so well. We can answer a lot of those questions through flashback as well, through her backstory. So yeah, I just need to clean up who the main character is. I think would help a lot more, because I have been confused. I'm like, who am I following? Who's doing this? So I would clean that up, and I'm going to steal a thing you said, and I hope you weren't going to say it late. Prior to your change, the cop who was killed in the beginning would be Lady Remkin's dad.
Oh, yeah. I said that while we were watching the show.
While we were watching, because then it's such a good one. It's like explains why she hates the Watch, because it got her dad killed, why she won't be a Watch member, but like wants to fight crime. It's a perfect bring together of her character. Yeah, why she thinks that the Watch are corrupt and ineffectual because her father was killed by a corrupt actual inside gang member. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, those are my changes. I just want to clean up who the main character is and make Lady Remkin a little bit more central. Because I think she's great. I can fully agree with that. I hadn't really thought about it. That is a great observation that I don't know who the main character is because I had completely forgotten. But yes, in the first episode, I think I even wrote down like Carrot is the main character. This is the Carrot show. Yeah. Classic TV show premise. The new guy on the force is the one who introduces everything. Mm-hmm. But he's not. Yeah, that's very strange. But yeah, we do need to clue up who the lead character is. And I think it could still be Lady Remkin, and it could still be her as the Batman, and we're getting it from the police perspective if all of the police were introduced simultaneously, as a collective. Like, they are the Watch, and holy shit, Lady Remkin has come in to change the Watch. Mm-hmm. But we didn't get a feel of what the Watch was already when she joined. So we're kind of only meeting the Watch as they're changing and not what they were. I really like that. Thank you. I do really like that. I want to agree with that. I was going to say I want Sarge to still be there because I really liked them as a duo. He was great. And make the budget work, do whatever you got to do. I think that they played off of each other really well, and it could have grounded a lot more of what was going on around them. And also to have like the strong, silent, or we don't understand them type, like a Chewbacca archetype. Like, it really works with loud, outlandish guy,
quiet, tough, we don't understand what he's saying guy. Like, that is Han and Chewie. That is so many types.
Absolutely. And if you're doing like this very reserved kind of attitudes, even though it's a comedy show, having a giant guy made of rocks is just always funny.
Yeah.
It lightens up every single scene. Giant guy made of rocks. Thor Ragnarok figured it out.
Yeah, you got a Korg type.
You put a Korg in there, laughs every second. You're like, look at this guy's head's not the same shape on either side.
Love
it's
it.
rocks.
Love it. But yeah, that would be just my simple writing change. I want to see that character stick around. And then the other stuff is just kind of larger tonal stuff. I think like the cheapest and simplest things are make it more colorful and vibrant. And on a writing level, I want the characters to interact with more of the silly, funny, charming things.
Because that is where the fun of the show is. I agree. I love these changes.
Bring Sarge back. Let's figure out who the main character is.
It's Sarge. Is it Sarge?
Is it Sarge? Question. It's not. It's not.
Not Sarge?
It would be Lady Remkin.
It would be Lady Remkin.
Yeah.
Excellent. We figured that out. It's Batman and the Rock Guy.
I'd
Classic.
watch you. You joke. I would watch that show.
I mean, who wouldn't watch Batman and the Rock Guy? But we would watch any show with Batman, so that's not a sell.
And so speaking of which, that's going to be it for this week's episode. But next week, we are going to be back, and we're going to be talking about the new season of Batwoman.
Oh, my goodness. What
Speaking
a
of
nice coincidence.
Speaking of Bat Family, speaking of Batwomen coming along and fucking up a commissioner's whole shit for the better.
Speaking of red-haired Batwomen over here.
Oh,
very
wait a minute.
specific trait.
Wait a minute. Yeah, this is bad. We're going to talk about a Batwoman again next week, I guess.
2.0 or 3.0?
3.0 because
it's a new Batwoman.
they've already, it's the new Batwoman on the show Batwoman. They've recast. So we'll be talking about Batwoman on next week's episode. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can reach me on Twitter at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can reach me at Words of Diana.
And you can reach both of us at From Superheroes. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.